Today I want to talk about Frank Miller's Elektra Assassin books. These were one of the first sets of books that I bought when I started collecting comics, and to be honest, it was probably a bad choice. That's not because they're bad books, it's just that the storyline was quite confusing for a newcomer to comics. I was attracted to the books by Frank Miller's name. As a beginner, his name popped up quite a lot, and I thought he was someone I should certainly look into. He published these books just after he'd finished the Dark Knight Returns book, which he's probably most famous for. Another reason I chose these books is that they were an 8-book story arc, which as a beginner were going to be quite easy to get hold of. They also weren't too expensive. Or at least I thought they'd be easy to get hold of, but having made a trip to one of my local comic book stores, I found that wasn't the case. In fact, the guy behind the counter told me that they didn't stock that sort of thing, which I was quite surprised about considering they're a Marvel book by one of comics' most famous names. Another reason I chose the books is that the art style looked quite distinctive and interesting. That's because the artist used watercolours, not pencils and ink, which is the traditional method, which was fairly unique at this time for Western comic books. As I said before, the story was a little confusing for a beginner. It involved lots of flashbacks for Elektra to her youth, and then she discovers this strange creature called the Beast who controls people by forcing them to drink its milk. The Beast's aim is to bring about a nuclear war. Its first attempt fails, and then the second attempt involves it taking the form of a human and running for president. S.H.I.E.L.D. become involved, and one of their agents is killed and is brought back to life as a cyborg. And I won't spoil the story from then on, but it was quite confusing for a beginner. I think it's a book that I'll definitely come back to in the future when I've got a better understanding of the Marvel Universe and I've been reading for a little bit longer. I've no regrets about buying it though. I love the art style, it's really unique, and it's a 25-year-old book now, which I picked up for less than $20 for the whole set. Certainly a nice little series to have as part of my collection. Anyway, thanks for listening to me talk about comics. I hope you found it interesting.